you were recently on a stream with Camelot331, our boy Cody, who is a professional NASCAR race man, and you were on a stream, and apparently on that stream, you got flagged for, well, I don't know, harassment, something like that.
Oh,
Tell me
was
about
it?
this. What happened?
Oh man.
What?
So when I was on stream with Cody, he was basically telling us how the quartering was basically like, fight me, bro, like on stream, like we can duke this out verbally, and then he didn't show up, and even though he was in the chat, he refused to accept the link, came up with a bunch of excuses, acted like a bit of a bitch about it, and then I guess he just didn't like the things that we had to say about it, so he just flagged Cody for the things that were said.
Now, I'd like to remind everybody watching, and especially anybody who is flag happy, that we are all talking about allegations at this point. And that is something that I want to be very, very clear, as we are simply talking about the news and not bullying or harassing anybody during this segment. And we certainly do not encourage bullying or harassing of any segment, as we are simply talking about things that are happening. So while Cody was doing this, there was an active community guideline strike, which means that he is no longer able to stream on YouTube for the time being. And to be clear, Cindy, while you were doing this stream, was there any other topics that were discussed during this stream that potentially could have led to that flagging, or was it primarily about the one subject?
Um, no, because we were watching his Jeremy's stream about the Ren Fair that he went to, and it was very unsettling to see somebody do that in public, and I think he didn't really like the fact that we were drawing attention to that. Allegedly, I could be wrong. I'm not for sure who actually flagged Cody, but it's kind of coincidental.
Right. Well, also coincidental is there was another creator, and this guy apparently has been critical of us. I don't. That's fine, whatever. But this guy Mikey also had his live stream removed as well. Now this is all alleged, right? This is from Worski, who they have their feud going right now. Kino Casino and Quartering having their feud. Allegedly, the Mikey's live stream was struck down with a strike. So that was two streamers that were talking about the same subject, apparently, that got removed as well throughout the day. Which, really, I think Jeremy from D-Day, D-Day Cobra from Geeks and Gamers said it best. Like, common sense tells us, like, this is not a coincidence at this point, right? At this point, like, when there's a single subject that continues to get flagged, at a certain point, don't you kind of have to say something about this? Be like, hey, I know all of these things are getting flagged that just happen to have this singular subject involving me. Don't you think it would be good for him to say something or address this? Or if it's not him, then to tell people who are doing it to stop.
Stop. Mm-hmm.
Right?
I just
That
feel
seems
like
like
he's tripling down though, since he gets drunk. And I agree with you on your stream the other day where you're like, just put down the bottle, man. Walk away a little. Because he goes on these drunken tirades, and it's crazy that half the things he's saying is insane.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well, he's fucking with people's livelihoods, and that's messed up. And just because somebody says something about you that hurts your feelings, you're a grown man. Get over it.
Allegedly.
You're on the internet. People are going to say things about you that you don't like. Now, if somebody says something that's defamatory and not true, that, you can go after them legally, that's one thing. But if somebody is just commentating, giving their opinion about something that you said or that you allegedly did, grow a pair of balls, dude. And like you said, put the fucking bottle down.
What's interesting here is this is not the first time this has happened. It's not the second time it's happened, or third, or fourth, or fifth, or sixth time. I have an entire list here that's put together by Nick Monroe over on X. And what I'd like to, once again, let everybody know, this is all allegedly the list of things that have happened here, of the timeline of this. And this is honestly kind of shocking to see when you look at the list here, spanning back from April 4th here. We saw the Kino Casino. These are all channels and all things that have been flagged built around a single topic. And you can see it's for harassment and cyberbullying. We have policy on personal identifiable information, ban evasion, harassment and cyberbullying. So not 1, not 2, not 5, not 8, not 9, not 10, no, not 12, because there's more here. 13, 14.
What?
14 people, including, New Blackstreet. They've been hit right
Isn't
here.
that Kaida's channel?
Yeah.
That is Kaida's. Yes. Cam got hit. Meme Copium, Elisa Clips, The Joker, Luther Morgan, Rant Man. This is not like a one-off thing. And this has been a consistent thing as we just simply talk and observe things that are happening. But once again, at a certain point here, as there's been 14 different incidents that have happened. Yes, they're tough. It's, apparently a lot harder than flagging channels. But don't you have to address this at a certain point, right? Like,
what is the harassment? That's what I want to know. Like, what is the harassment?
We're saying mean things.
Well, and that just goes back to what exactly is bullying. Is it just things that you don't like that are being said?
He does the same thing. He lights Candace Owens' ass up almost daily.
No, I actually find this kind of curious because, like, how is this guy getting away with flagging people for cyberbullying and stuff like that on X at all, when I've tried flagging people for cyberbullying chibi reviews, and they're literally sending him death threats and then like saying like really awful things about his dead brother, like. But, those particular reports have always been denied. And I don't understand what the prerequisite is for on these kinds of things. It's a little weird.
The chat just brought up, like, shouldn't there be consequences for false flagging? And
yes.
Yeah, absolutely there should. Just like there should be consequences for doxing people and different instances like this, because you are messing with people's lives, right? And the idea of like harassment and cyberbullying is a very vague term, right? If you can point to a specific instance that you say, hey, this person is this, and where does the opinion start and the cyberbullying and harassment begin? This is all gray, which especially when you have a platform like YouTube, which is extremely left-leaning, right? We all understand that. Now they have loosened up a little bit over the years, but still, it's not normal by any means. Where does that lead? And ultimately it comes down to, do you have a connection at YouTube that just honestly doesn't care, and their relationship with the creator or the person who is doing the flagging is better than the relationship of the person who's been flagged to their contact, if that makes sense, right? It comes down to relationships. Does that all make sense? But this certainly needs to be addressed, as people are legitimately being unable to stream on YouTube because of this. Now that has driven people to other platforms, which is great. Rumble, Kick. It is, people are growing off platform, as we said all along. YouTube is a great billboard, right? But do not rely on YouTube. Do not rely on any singular platform. We've said literally from the beginning of the show that we will be streaming to as many platforms as we possibly can, cast that net as wide as we possibly can. And it's been good for us. And I think everybody should build around that mantra. I understand the idea of wanting to bring your audience to a single place, but there is something to being able to grow on multiple platforms. And when you need them to go to a single place, then you can, have your call to arms or whatever. But Cindy, oh yes, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to your point about what is the harassment and the cyberbullying, like, can we pinpoint this? Is there a timestamp? I take that very seriously, because all of last summer here on Rumble, I was being harassed by a creator that just continuously made burner after burner after burner after burner, and would come into my chat and say the most horrendous things. Even did it during the subathon that we had.
Yep.
And I reported it all to Rumble, and I think they're still trying to figure out ways to handle all of that. And I hope that they do, because honestly, when it comes to the burner accounts, they have access to see the IPs and where it's all coming from. They can't legally share that with anybody else, especially the person that does the reporting. And I get that, but it was blatant harassing for months. And unfortunately, it didn't get taken care of. And I was a little disappointed in it, but I had the actual evidence. I documented everything. And if for Jeremy to say that he's being harassed just because people are saying mean things about him. Now, if it's somebody going into his chat and just berating over and over and over again, then you've got documentation of that. If you're just false flagging people because your feelings are hurt, get over it. Because there are people out there that are experiencing that kind of thing.
I mean, you could also not do creepy things online for people to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways to circumvent it, but this is just this is ridiculous. It's such a gross overuse of power.
Droxus points us out with $10 direct donation, says, once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. 15 plus, that's purposeful. It's too much to ignore or push under the rug at this point, right? And I think there needs to be if there's one singular topic that's being discussed in all this stuff, and every single one of those, videos, streams, whatever, is getting flagged because of speaking about that individual subject, no matter the subject. If once again, if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, probably a duck. It's just common sense at this point here, which I think there should definitely be something said about this, because you're messing with people's livelihoods at this point. Chief Corey Anderson came in with 5, says, as a functioning alcoholic, I feel bad for Jeremy. And once again, I want to be very clear. All this is alleged, right? But Jeremy is the subject of these videos. And I do think that Jeremy and the quartering should make some sort of statement about this, or at least tell his audience, if you are doing this, don't do it, right? And by the way, his alcohol, his love of alcohol has been chronicled by himself. This is not something that we are just throwing out there. This is him who has said it and done it, right? Being drunk on stream, things like that, pissing in his basement, all those things, right? Anyways, Chief Corey says, as a functioning alcoholic, I feel bad for Jeremy. He should come out and apologize and move on. It's not hard to say I'm sorry. And I think that's probably that's the path, right? That's the one thing, but ego gets in the way. And all this could very quickly, look, guys, I messed up. Whether it was him or somebody else's community, look, our community messed up, right? And if it was him, then he says, look, guys, I messed up and I'm sorry. And I'm going to step away from the internet. This is the exact same advice I gave him earlier. I'm going to step away from the internet. I'm going to refocus here. And I hope I can earn back your trust. That's the best thing that he could potentially do right here. If he allegedly did this.
Put me down for Halo. Never forget. HBD Phoenix. Still processing that Craig was a professional slam ball player. Shout out Blabs, Meg, and Cini. LGTube.
LGaytube. Thank you so much, Mad Frog. Appreciate your support. And it's $50 for Halo right there. Thank you very much, Mad Frog. Extremely generous.
Quick,
yes,
on topic, I still don't understand, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong if this has happened, but I am shocked and surprised that no one has tried to come up with, creators in general have not tried to find a way to sue YouTube. The way they handle things seems like they just have mob rule and they can do whatever they want, but the way they handle not only just how they ban people without telling them, or from what I'm understanding, I don't use it. But I definitely am aware of how much they allow people to abuse the copyright system of just you used 2 seconds, and so now we're going to give you a strike or whatever. Like, that needs to be challenged. And has anyone done that? And this is another example again of, hey, you're taking away my livelihood here. Has no one just like come together and said maybe we should come together as a group and maybe try and take them on? Has that happened?
Well, that and maybe investigate these people who supposedly have connections with like Jeremy and whatnot, because they should not have their job if that's how they're going to do it.
Right. And if I was YouTube, that's exactly where I would go to. I would say, because they know, YouTube has to know who is making the decision to flag down these channels. I'm sure there's a paper trail or some sort of digital trail that tracks the exact user who is making these decisions, right? So once again, if there's a singular tie so that is making all these decisions to a singular creator, then that needs to be addressed, right? And that is a straight abuse of power. As far as going to YouTube and fighting them on their own terms of service, man, that's tough. I think that.
Well, especially with their the cop. I mean, it is a blatant. That's blatant murder they're getting away with as far as allowing big companies. It appears, right? It appears big companies can come in, say, hey, you used our music. We know you're poor. You're not going to be able to fight us. So go fuck yourself. We're going to just take this down and you're just going to have to sit with it. It's like, no, you just can't just say that this isn't yours. I'm going to give you a copyright strike or whatever it is they do on that shit plan.
Right. What you're speaking of is like a collective or a union or something like that.
Something. I don't know.
Creators.
I think it couldn't hurt to everyone get around and because then you can make some really positive change and hopefully make the platform better.
Man, that's tough because I understand the strength in numbers aspect. I'm a big believer in strength in numbers, while at the same time I think unions are dog shit, right? Because
I hate unions too.
Right. So I would not be the right person to lead that up, right? As I believe in growing together, but the idea of unionization to me, the reason why I don't like them, specifically for a profession like working online, right? If you're a dock worker or if you're working in the mines, okay, whatever, right? Physical labor, get it. But if you're like creating videos online, let's put things in perspective here, right? I think it's almost disrespectful, but I'm
saying
can't
pool in money I'm saying I'm with you. Unions are terrible. I'm saying pool in money and resources to try to go after some of these shit things that YouTube has apparently done.
But even then, I feel like, and look, I know that I sound like I'm making excuses, but I'm also trying to be realistic about this because let's just say you pull $5 million of resources, right? You're like, man, we're gonna get an awesome legal team together. YouTube, that's a drop in the bucket of revenue to them, and they will bleed you dry before you're going to be out of money before you even have an opportunity to get to court. When it comes to them, they will just bleed you dry, and that's the reality of the situation. So the best case scenario with all this is don't use YouTube, right? Now, when it comes to the, we use it, obviously, we will continue to use YouTube, but there are obviously giant holes and there are obviously giant abuses of power that's happening in the situation because these people should not be struck down.